Hi, my name is Robai, and today I would like us to talk adoption. I decided to Google what adoption is. I know people kind of know what adoption is, but I just wanted to find out what Google says adoption is. Adoption is a process whereby a person assumes the parenting of another. So in this case, usually a child. So for example, we have 3 children whom we did not give birth to biologically, but we have assumed the parenting of these children. So that is adoption. Usually a child, so whereby a person assumes the parenting of another, usually a child, from that person's biological or legal parents or parents. So our biological children's parent, I don't know what I'm saying, our children, their biological parents, are no longer their parents because we are now their legal parents. And I'll explain this a little bit. Legal adoptions permanently transfer. So it's permanent. Legal adoption is permanent. There is nowhere we are going to return these children. They are ours and we assume full responsibility. So legal adoptions transfer all rights permanently and responsibilities along with filiation from the biological parents to the adoptive parents. So these children are ours. They're not going anywhere. They are our babies. We assume every responsibility. In fact, they have our family name. All our children are Moiroris. And I'll explain this bit by bit. I decided to start this series of what adoption is because it's very important, and through my interactions with people I've realized that it's not very clear. Like there's so many assumptions and it's not clear, and not just assumptions but superstitions and stigma. There's so much going on around this adoption conversation that most of it isn't true. It's basically just us, my husband Martin and I, taking up the role of parenting our 3 beautiful children, all whom are adopted, by the way, different kinds of adoption, and taking care of them. Out of the 3 children, 2 of them have our name because we have gone through the legal process. One of our children is a kinship adoption, and that's a relative. We haven't really done the proper kinship adoption, like going to court and all, because we do not want her parents to relinquish their role as their biological parent, because that's what adoption is, and that's what adoption does. So today, I'd like us to discuss, in part, what is legal adoption. So legal adoption begins at the adoption agency. And like I mentioned, I alluded to kinship adoption. That means that child is your relative, is one of yours relative if you're a couple. So biologically, they are not yours because you did not carry that child in your womb, but they belong to a relative. So if a relative died or if a relative isn't able to take care of this child, but that's not even a proper reason. If for a reason this child is not able to live with their parents and their parents relinquish their role, like they say they can no longer be able to take care of this child, then you can legally now adopt them and even get to change their name if you need to. They acquire your family name and they are there enjoying the benefits of a legitimate child of this home. There's also another aspect that you can do, which is a route that we are taking, is legal guardianship. Now, legal guardianship just gives us the power to transact or to take over this child without necessarily having relinquished the role of the parents. Like, her parents are still her parents. Her birth certificate is not changing because it won't contain our name. But with our other two adopted children, their birth certificates, place for mother is mine, place for father is Martin. But for the kinship, the legal guardianship, that one is not changing. The only thing is you've just saying that it's me who is with the child, and I will promise to take care of the child, and I want to take care of this child for as long as she lives and as long as I am around. Then she is a child of this family, which means she has a right to inheritance, a right to everything that we will do to these other children. And even if you have biological children, then this other adopted child has same rights, in my opinion, if not more rights. So that is what adoption is. Permanent. It's permanent. Like, there's no turning back, which is why you need to really be sure that you know that you want to go ahead and proceed. This child is going to get to teenage years, and in teenage years, sometimes there's issues that happen, which happen to all of us. This child is going to do things. They might start snoring, and in your family, people don't snore, for example. They're not going anywhere. They're yours. That's what adoption is. It's permanent. Like, there is no erasing. There isn't erasing. So anyway, how do we start the adoption process in Kenya? Before I go on further, I would like to encourage you to go to Facebook. There's a group called Adoption is Beautiful Kenya. It's was started by a beautiful lady called Grace, and she is the queen of adoption in Kenya. At least that's what I say. I think her blood just oozes adoption, and she is a very good ambassador for adoption. So the page has a lot of information, a lot of which I'm going to talk about, but there is even much more because there's the benefit of the questions and the comments of the other many people who have adopted or who desire to adopt, what they ask, the processes they go through, how long it's taken. It's a beautiful page. Please go follow the page and ask your questions, ask away. Usually there are sessions, seminars that are held all the time in regards to adoption. And this June 21st of June 2025, there's a session. I'll probably find the flyer, but if you go on the page, you'll see at Saddleback. So if adoption is something that interests you, please join the group and learn much more. But legal adoption begins from the adoption agency. And we have a few adoption agencies in Kenya. I am going to link the adoption agencies down below with the contacts and the adoption agencies. Please give them a call, ask them questions, find out what they have, see the booking. If you're interested in a child, let them know there. Talk to them. They will get back to you and they will guide you, because that's the only legal way of adoption. I know people in the past have done things like colluding with doctors and nurses and stealing babies and wearing pregnant bellies so that they can have children. People have done weird kind of things that, in my opinion, are not necessary. Yeah. Anyway, so legal adoption begins at the adoption agency. Once you call up an adoption agency and you book a meeting, then you're briefed and all your questions are answered. You pick up the forms. You go and fill up the forms. Of course, they need to know you, who you are. Do you have siblings? Do you have any other children? Where do you live? What kind of child would you like? How old? Gender of the child? All those things you write in the form. And it's good to give a range for the gender of the child, but they will guide you. And then there are other letters that you require. You require a letter from your religious leader, your pastor, your sheikh, I think. That's who they are. A place where you attend, church or wherever, you'll need a letter. You'll need a letter from friends, a family member, people who can vouch for your credibility. Those are some of the letters that you need. You will need to do a medical test, which is simple, just urinalysis and blood test and a stamp from government institution doctor. You will need, I'm getting these things off my head, so that's why. But you will need, it's stuff that you can get. Once you return the forms, there's a fee to it, there's a fee attached to it. It's in the range of about 20,000, which you really don't need to pay at once. You pick the form, you pay 1,000, you return the forms, you pay half the money. Then when you're approved or something, you pay the rest of the money. But it's a conversation that you have with your agency and you decide how you'll do it. So it's really, really affordable. Anyone can do this. Once your forms have been received, a social worker from the agency will be sent to you and they'll come to check out your house where the child will be staying. They'll ask you a few questions regarding to your background, your father, your mother, even if they're deceased, if they're alive, siblings, what number are you in your family? Just a lot of research to just get to know you. And then they will write their report. After this report, the case committee, there's what we call the case committee that sits and looks through your documents. Oh, you will also need to have a certificate of good conduct from DCI, CID, DCI. I can tell my age. They will look through all those documents that you will have given and the information you'll have presented. Then they will decide if you are approved or rejected, or you need to bring some additional information. Most of the time people are approved. It's very rare that you are rejected, but yeah. So once you are approved, then in part of the documents was some photos, picture of you if you are adopting as a spouse, as a couple, a picture of your spouse. If you have biological children, also they'll be included in there. Then your photos and your documents are taken to the registered children's homes, to see if they'll find a child, if they have a child of your specification or near your specification. Adoption is for the best interest of the child. So we do not pre-select. You do not pre-select a child. You don't go to a children's home and say, oh, that is so cute, I want that one. No, you don't do that. So you are matched. They find a child who qualifies, who is in your range in terms of age, gender, probably looks like you people, your spouse, your child, skin tones. I don't know. They look at so many things. But I am yet to meet a child who doesn't look like the adoptive family. I don't know. God is such a perfect matchmaker. Once they have found your child, they will call you and they will let you know when you can come in to go see the child. Then there is bonding. And then after you've bonded, depending on the specifications of the particular children's home, you're ready to bring home your child. It sounds simple, right? Because yes, it's simple, but it is a process that requires patience. It requires a lot of patience on your part because sometimes these children are not available. For instance, there are very many single ladies who are adopting girls. So you may have to wait for us a period of time. Or the children are available, but there's a problem on the other end of the government side. Their committals have not been signed, and a child cannot be declared free for adoption until certain requirements are met, even if they are in the children's home. So it's a process of patience and prayer. Most people don't take too long. We haven't taken too long for our 2 adoptions, but it was definitely a period of time, and we've done calls and follow-up. Eventually, our babies are home. What I've come to find, and what I have listened to many other adoptive parents say, is that once that baby is home, just everything fizzles out. You're like, you know what, it was worth the wait. I have the perfect human being. And I look at our children today and I'm like, God, this is amazing. These are just the most perfect people that you chose, and they fit perfectly in our family. So I hope this sheds some light on the first part of the requirements for adoption before a child comes home. What is required up to the point where the child comes home. In the next one, we'll be discussing what happens, because there's a period that's called the foster period. So that's what we shall be discussing, the foster period and beyond. Thank you very much. I wish you the best in your adoption journey. God bless you.